All right, guys, what's up? I'm back. I'm going to talk about knots and just tell you what knots I tie. I'm going to keep this pretty simple. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, there's this knot and there's that knot. And there are other knots that I don't even know about and I've never tied. I'm going to tell you what. On my spinning rod, from my braid main line to my fluorocarbon leader, which I throw on all spinning rods, the first knot I learned was a uni to uni. And it's super simple. Not very complicated. I could show you basically how to do it, probably with these. You take your, say this is, excuse me, say this is your braid. Say this purple is your fluorocarbon. You basically lay them over each other, and then you create a loop, and then you're gonna make go in and out of that loop, whatever. This is too stiff. This is not gonna work. But anyways, you create a knot over here. You cinch it down on this side. Okay, like so, whatever. This is a bad explanation, and then this is still free and over here, the other side. And then you create another loop. All right. And you make another, little weave in and out of there. That's a uni to uni. All right. And then what you do at the end, basically, is you'll end up cinching them together like that. Okay. And what I don't like about this knot is, obviously I'm using rope, and this is not a very good, deal, but I don't have a bunch of stuff laying around to use it. But this knot is too thick. If you can tell the way, even with this rope, like, it's just too big. When your fishing line, say this is your fishing line, and it goes to your guides, it's going to be clashing on your guides every time it hits one of those guides going out your reel or your rod. It's going to damage and weaken the knot over time. Yes. Can you throw a uni to uni knot if you're fishing and at work? I caught droves of fish on a uni to uni knot. It works, but is it the strongest knot? No, not even close. There's no way, because I started tying the FG knot, and I literally can pull on it and pull on it, pull on it, and will not break. This knot just doesn't work well. You can wet it. It's pretty tight. It holds pretty strong. I mean, you can land big fish on a uni to uni. There's no doubt. But it's just not the best knot for me, because I've got so much money on the line and I'm fishing at the level that I'm at. It doesn't cast as far. You're going to get more clickety clack through the guides. Like I said, it's just not a great knot. So the knot that I tie is a FG knot. And I really want to illustrate it, guys, with this rope, but I've sat down and tried to do it, and it's nearly impossible. It's this, maybe if I had two of these black ropes, and I have no idea where my other ropes are at. I got to find them. I'm trying to get all my stuff organized. But what a uni to uni is basically you're wrapping. You put the braid, the way I do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it here in a second, is I put the braid in my mouth, okay? I take my spinning reel like this, and I always lay it down, and you got to have some, like tension on the line. Not too much, a little bit. But I usually have a little knot or something in the line, and I'll put it in between my teeth, like that right there. And I just hold when I'm sitting in the boat, I don't want a bunch of weight on my rod, but I just put a little bit of pressure there, just like that. And I know you can't see the line's right here, but I put a little bit of pressure. It's got a little pressure, and then I come in with my fluorocarbon and I start wrapping it. And what it does is it builds this knot down the line of the fluorocarbon. And why it's so skinny is because your fluorocarbon, say this purple rope is your fluorocarbon. With a uni to uni, you're wrapping this and you're wrapping your braid, and then you're cinching them down. With a FG knot, you have, this is your fluorocarbon, And the only thing you're wrapping is your braid, and your braid is much smaller diameter. And what it does is it just makes this perfect little knot like this. And it's not like this, but just for illustration purposes, it's making this really nice little tight knot like this. Chinese finger trap is what you're doing. And then you put a half hitch over your braid at the end. Let's see if I can actually do this. Do a little half hitch at the end here. And no, it's not gonna work. But what it does is you wrap this thing around, and all you're doing is wrapping it around your fluorocarbon. So when you're done, and this line, this all goes one way. Anyways, just imagine this isn't even there. But what happens is you have this like super tight, mainstream, very thin, skinny knot compared to the uni to uni, okay? And then what happens is this knot is so much better at going through your guides. Like this is your fluorocarbon going out to your bait, and this is your braid going back to your reel. And when this thing goes through those guides, it just goes smoother. And not to mention, it is got to be like, I mean, I don't even know the technical, how many times stronger it is, but watch the Knot Wars back in the day. Maybe they did that. But it's super strong, way stronger than the uni. And you hear a lot of people talk about it and say they tie the FG. And then whenever I say that to people, I hear a lot of moaning and groaning like, man, I tried to do that one time and it was just too hard. Well, I'm going to tell you something, folks. The first time I did it, it was hard. But let me tell you something. You keep trying and you practice and you get the finger motions down, and you don't need to save that much. Once you get it down, you can do it. I could do it just as fast as I could do a uni to uni, literally. And just done. And I'm going to show you that here in a second, exactly how fast I could do it. So it's just a mainstream knot, and it works really well. Cast amazing. I've tied guys I know that complain about tying the FG knot, that fish the professional level. When a couple years ago, buddies that I have mine that like don't even throw spinning rods that much, I'll tie them a braid FG knot on, and they'll use it for like 3 or 4 tournaments on their spinning rod because they don't throw spinning rod that much. And then they'll be like, Joe, I need you to tie me another FG knot. And because it lasts so long, I mean, you could literally tie that thing and fish with it. The problem is you're going to be trimming and cutting baits off, and so you're going to lose your leader length. But you could put it on there and it'll last forever. Like the tighter you pull the two lines apart, the tighter the knot cinches down. It just cinches down. So like the knot's super important when you're tying it to keep everything really tight. So let's get to it. I'm going to take this spinning rod right here. I'm going to lay it down. Yeah, I got to get my leader line real quick. All right. I got baits underneath my butt. All right, I'm going to take this leader line right here. And this is, I throw Berkley 100% fluorocarbon. 100% fluorocarbon. The thing about Berkley 100% fluorocarbon is, if like the high end line, you know, like the real thin diameter Japanese stuff, like it's super strong and it's great, but it's smaller diameter. Okay, so like if some of those guys are throwing 8-pound tests, like, well, whatever their 8-pound test is, I'm throwing 6. No. I'm trying to think how to think about that. This line's a little bit bigger diameter. So I can throw, I throw 6-pound a lot but it's super strong line. It's just not really thin, but all fluorocarbon, it doesn't matter what kind of fluorocarbon you like. It doesn't matter. But I like 100% fluorocarbon. It's all I use. It's easy, works well, very strong line. I don't ever break fish off. I hear people telling me all the time, like, oh, broke that big one off her, you know, he jumped up and jumped out, and then he got in there and he broke. Pow! My line popped. Never happens with me. Ever. But it can happen. So, for illustration purposes, I'm going to use probably the size line I use the most is, it's in between 8 and 10 pound test. Probably 8 is probably what I use the most on all my spinning reel stuff. Obviously when I get up north and I go smallmouth and then I can see 35 foot deep in the St. Lawrence River, I use 6 pound test, 100% fluorocarbon. Okay, so let's get to this knot right here. So I put the line. That's what I do. I've got usually got like a little line here on the end of my rod. I mean, a little line here on the end of my rod. What I do is I have a little knot there on the end of my braid, so I can pull on it and it stays behind my teeth and it like won't come out. So like if it's straight braid, I'll just like throw a little knot in it real quick. And then like no matter what, when I'm pulling on it and I'm doing this knot, like it won't come out. So very important, you take your rod and just lay it down. Just lay it down like that. I wish you guys could see. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, there we go. Maybe you can see it right there behind my green shirt. So I lay it down. It's still not gonna work. Let me get it right. A little slack here, put it underneath the camera. Ooh, I like that. Let's try that. Right there by the camera. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Well, you can see it there. Let me put my hat up like this. All right. So what I do is I got the braid in my mouth. I take the FG, I take the fluorocarbon line. All right. And I'm going to wrap it around my hand just like this. What I'm doing, and I'll take it in between my fingers. Like it doesn't matter. You just want to be able to like pull on that line and it not slip. And then what you want is, you want about that much. I don't know, about six inches or so. You want about that much. And then this is it. This is all you do. You take your line and set it on top of your braid, okay? And then you got to keep this stuff tight. You're going to end up pinching these two where the fluorocarbon, you can't see that probably, but where the fluorocarbon and the braid meets, you're going to want to pinch that. So you're going to take your line, you lay it on top, and then you start to weave it. So you're going to go around your hand. I'm going towards you guys. So I'm going to go around and then I'm going to pull it tight. And then I'm going to come back underneath the line and I'm going to pull it tight. And then I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to pull it tight. If you can see my fingers here, I'm pinching it. I'm keeping it pinched because when I have to go around and grab the line, you don't want to lose that pinch because you don't want your knot coming undone. So you want to keep your fingers pinching, but then you just keep going. And what it does is once you get good at it, you can just sit here and you can figure out how to turn your hand a little bit. Like you can see how my hand's twisting. And what it does is it builds that braid right on top of that fluorocarbon like I was talking about. Okay. You can go about 20 times. I actually don't even go by how many wraps. It all depends on my line size I'm using, but I usually judge on about the length of the knot. So I like mine about, I don't know, probably about 1/2 inch long, something like that right there. So, sorry, I hit the camera. So what I've done is I have taken, let me get this tight. So what I've done here is I've built this knot. You see that knot? That's me just wrapping the braid around that knot right there. That's it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it pinched like that. And then you can let go. You don't have to keep any tension. And you keep it pinched in your hand. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take, this is the tag end that was in your mouth. And I'm going to trim that down just for, I usually do anyway. But I'm going to take this tag end of the braid, okay? and you've got your fluorocarbon, and this braid right here, is going to your rod, okay? So I'm going to take that and I'm going to run a hitch. I'm going to run what's called a half hitch. All right? So your fluorocarbon and your braid go into your rod. They're kind of like right next to each other. All right? Let's see if I can do this. So you run a half hitch, and what you're going to do is you're making a loop, and you're going to run your line over, and then you're going to bring your tag, your braid, you're going to bring your tag in, and you're going to bring it right back to that loop. I don't know if you guys could see that or not. And then you're going to cinch that down, okay? You're going to pull on the braid and the fluorocarbon, and you're going to pull that, you're making that half hitch, and it's going to seat that knot right up against the edge, and then you can let go of it. So there you have an FG knot. Now, obviously I'm going to do probably another half hitch. But what happens is when you pull on this knot, it's gonna start tightening. Like I'm pulling on it right now. And this is just with one half hitch, but it's gonna start. I'll put it right about in there. It's gonna start tightening. So what I do usually is I'll pull on this thing good and hard, and that's about cutting my fingers. One time like that, and then I'll come back. Sometimes I'll just go with like 2 half hitches over it, and I'll just cinch it down and snip it off, and it's good to go. But when you do that, you really seat that half hitch in there, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna make one more half hitch, which is just me. I've got a loop made here. I'm throwing it over my fishing line and pulling the line back through that loop I made, the braid, and I'm gonna grab it, and then I'm gonna cinch it down again, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and just pull on it one more time just for good measure, but you don't have to. I always like to give a little extra juice. And then, so here's the braid right here that's going to your rod, and then here's the fluorocarbon that's going to your lure. Okay? So now you just take that little tag in. You're gonna have a little fluff right there. Nobody cares. I have fluff on mine all the time. It doesn't do anything. Braid's soft, and it's not like fluorocarbon sticking out, so it doesn't matter. But you can't see this. I don't think you can see this. But do you see how skinny that knot is on the line? It's just one braid width, and it's laid over the line. So it's very thin, okay? And it's super strong, okay? Now I'm gonna run a strength test here. I've got 8-pound fluorocarbon, and I've got braid, and we're gonna see if I can break this thing. I can't, it's cut my finger. That knot right there is phenomenal. I'll never tie another knot. I don't care what knot comes out. It doesn't matter. Knots are knots, and it's pretty simple and self-explanatory. But that knot right there is extremely strong. And I'll pull on that knot like that, and I'll happily take it fishing in a Bassmaster Classic. Without a doubt. Like, the tighter you pull, the stronger it gets. Okay, so check this out. I just tied a uni to uni, which is on the left. All right. Come on, don't leave me. You see those 2 knots? You can't even hardly see the FG knot on the right, but you can see the uni to uni on the left. And I know there's other knots out there. This is just an example, and this is all I know because this is the only 2 knots I've ever tied for leader together. But you can see the width of the uni to uni and how it's wrapped versus how narrow the FG is and how mainstream it is down the line. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick. That's the FG. It's phenomenal. It's a great knot. Okay, so what do I do after that? I'm at 20 minutes. So what do I do after that? I reel my leader line out the spool, and I reel it down to, okay, here comes my knot, and here it comes right there. All right, so it's right here on my reel. Not to mention this knot goes really well through your little feeder thingy, Jesse. The little roller, when it's spinning, goes through there. Look at that when I pull it out. It's like it never even was there. It's like it's a part of the fluorocarbon. But anyways, leader length, I usually take it. There's my braid. It's at my reel, and I'll cut it right here at the same distance at my reel. So I'll cut it right there with my teeth, and I'll tie my my lure on, and I'll go. Get the net. Get the net, Bobby. SFG knot. I hope you guys like it. It works. I've been using it for probably about 3 years, and man, I've been snatching up fish. I have more confidence in that knot. I would literally fish 2 tournaments back to back, tournament days, without retying that knot. Maybe even 3. If I had enough leader length and I hadn't been cutting off, I would probably fish 3 tournaments. As a matter of fact, I've done it before. I promise you, I've done it before. It's phenomenal. If you tie uni to uni or some of them other weak knots that I don't know about, there's other knots out there, folks, but there's not another knot that is as narrow as this knot. The Alberto knot, it's not as thin as this knot. The FG knot is the thinnest knot you can tie on this setup right here from braid to fluorocarbon. The thinnest, 100%, the skinniest. Ask a bunch of guys out there, okay? Some of them do different stuff. I was just at Bass U. Derek Hudnall, love him, great guy. He doesn't tie it. He thinks the FG's too hard. I said, man, this take a little practice. It takes a little practice. You can't be discouraged at the first try. But use my technique right there. Put it in your mouth, wrap it. Do like this. This is 2.5 inches. You can do it in a heartbeat. Maybe I'll go real quick and do a fast knot as fast as I can tie it.